My dear readers, listeners, and watchers, do your heads spin as mine does in this awesome circus of life? There's so much to take in, to process, and react to, or not. I don't even pretend to keep up. My curiosity and fascination with life, people, stories, motivation, and connections continues unabated. I'm grateful to discover gobs of inspiring work almost every day. However, every few days, I need to integrate the shiny new objects I discover and reprioritize my activities. Before I tell you about some of my ongoing and upcoming projects, my activism focus has shifted, not off patients and caregivers, but realizing that I'm old. If I could have changed the world, it would have happened already. I don't have the keys. I don't have the energy to change the system. I do have some experience, wisdom, and power. Underline some. Rather, I'm delighted to work with younger people who have different ideas, methods, and more energy than me. My priorities of self-care, family, music, podcasting, and Picori will go, but everything needs to fit into one or more of those buckets. Each bucket serves my activism. This episode fills you in on my status, doings, and musings. Every time I do one of these episodes about myself, I think, who cares? But it seems like they get the most downloads and people tell me they really like them. So here's another episode like that. Welcome to Health Hats, the podcast. I'm Danny Van Leeuwen, a two-legged cisgender old white man of privilege who knows a little bit about a lot of healthcare and a lot about very little. We will listen and learn about what it takes to adjust to life's realities in the awesome circus of healthcare. Let's make some sense of all of this. So one of the things that I'm doing is I've started interviewing for a series on young adults with mental illness. We need our young adults to be best positioned for the challenges and messes we leave behind. Our many cultures perfectly make life insanely tricky for young adults' mental health. The pun is intended. The upside of a slight reduction in stigma about mental health over the past decade is that it appears way more prevalent. But wait a minute, it is way more prevalent. So what's going on? What are young adults experiencing? How do we support those in need? I know enough to be dangerous. But since I root most of my podcasts in lived experience, I'm already speaking with inspirational young adults and families. I'm also interviewing teachers, licensed professionals, community service providers, payers, policymakers, and researchers to better understand their piece of the puzzle. I'm using social media, and now I've added Mastodon. You can find me at @HealthHats to lurk, listen, pose questions, and find resources outside my bubble. I haven't figured out how to package this series yet, but it'll come soon enough. So far, I know the challenge feels right. We can learn more, create more connections, and build integrated collaborations. Jan Oldenburg suggested that I ask everyone, what one thing would have made your journey to best health more manageable and more sustainable? As you know, I eagerly explore different media, channels, and messages in health communication. I'm testing communication with our common and uncommon neurodiversity and diverse sensory abilities. That's a fancy way of saying vision and hearing. Lately, I think about how and when to describe skin tone on alt text when I'm color palette illiterate. Alt text is a tool used to describe images in print and video for people with limited vision. Black, brown, and white don't seem adequate descriptors when a gallery of faces is described. So I'm asking those questions personally and on social media. Share those results. Now, a word about our sponsor, Abridge. Record your healthcare conversations with doctors and other clinicians with Abridge. Push the big pink button and record. Read the transcripts or listen to clips when you get home. Check out the app at abridge.com, abridge.com, or download it on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Let me know how it went. I'm learning as I go in video production. If you're watching, you can see that I'm learning as I go. I've received varied feedback about my on-mic video portion of the videos that I do. This episode is all on mic. That's me talking to you, not an interview or a chat. I haven't yet mastered the skill of simply talking to the camera without writing it out in advance. Some people say it looks like I'm reading, which I am. So I should use images, animation for the visual part so it's not apparent that I'm reading. Others say, don't worry, we'd rather see you than images and animation. Well, at this point, images and imagination are more work, so I'm going to underdo that. Perhaps I could work on 30 seconds at a time of on mic without reading and build that skill. Let me know what you think. On a personal level, my double vision has grown increasingly problematic. Really, it's getting worse weekly over the past 6 months. I need a new prescription almost monthly. So what I have is double vision, so-called strabismus, and reading music and working on the computer goes more arduous. Fortunately, I found a comprehensive ophthalmology practice and hope to have corrective strabismus surgery early next year. Easy for me to say. It can't come too soon. Otherwise, I'm great. In my neurodiversity, I forget everything I read or watch immediately when done. I immediately forget a discovered nugget of brilliance. I forget the movie, I forget the video, I forget the book. Podcasting and editing podcasts allows me to process and shift stuff to a different part of my brain I can access. So perhaps I could start a podcast feature, Nuggets from the Mind. So here's a nugget. I follow those nerdy girls on Substack, Facebook, and their website. And you can see those links in the show notes. Those nerdy girls are a collective of epidemiologists and people who love epidemiologists. So epidemiologists are people who investigate the presence and absence of disease and related causes. Those nerdy girls began early COVID, and I found their style of answering questions with evidence-based referenced answers comforting and consumable. They update the material regularly, have a sense of humor and humility, and appear to learn continually. I've had at least half the questions that they answer. I spoke with a few of the nerdy girls last week about a social media squad they're setting up. Perhaps I'll work with them. This is a nugget. Check them out in the show notes. I'll try to do more. Okay, so here's going to be an effort of me being on mic without reading. Today that I'm recording, it's May 18th, and this is the anniversary of the death of my son, Michael Funk. It's been a long time since he passed. He was 26. People say, that's awful. And, there were parts of it that were awful. And there were parts of it that just were wonderful. We were close as a family, and we experienced together, and we supported each other. And we learned a lot. We met Mike when he was 15, and he died when he was 26. So we had 11 years together. And it was a beautiful, tumultuous, painful, ecstatic period of time. So I just want to take a minute and recognize a wonderful guy, Michael Funk. I miss you, Mike. Thanks. Guess that went okay, huh? I guess I can do on mic. I host, write, edit, engineer, and produce Health Hats the podcast. Kayla Nelson provides website and social media consultation and creates video trailers. Joey Van Leeuwen supplies musical support, especially for the podcast intro and outro. I play Barry sax on some episodes alone or with the Lechuga Fresca Latin Band. I'm grateful to you who have the most critical roles as listeners, readers, and watchers. See the show notes, previous podcasts, and other resources through my website, www.health-hats.com, and my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and contribute. If you like it, share it. See you around the block.